Hey guys, it's Vanessa from Building a Hopeful Homestead. Today I want to harvest some things in my garden with you, and I also want to start my seeds for my fall garden. So I'm going to bring you guys along for that. So I've been harvesting as things become ripe. I've gotten quite a few tomatoes, and I've gotten quite a few shishito peppers and bell peppers from my garden, and obviously if you've watched my other videos, you know I've gotten a ton of kale, a ton of basil, and a ton of chives. So we will just go through and see what's ripe today, and I'll take you along with me. These are my Japanese winged beans, and if you can see, there's quite a few that are ready, so I'm going to go ahead and pluck these off. These are a really unique bean. If you guys can see that, they're ribbed on 4 sides. They have 4 of those. And I wanted to give it a shot this year and see if it grew them, and they have done fantastic. They have the most beautiful flowers. I'm not sure if you can make tea out of those, but I'm sure you can. If you can eat the bean, you can probably eat the flower, but don't quote me on that. If anybody does know, please comment below and let me know. My husband and I are really into Japanese recipes. We wanted to give a lot of the vegetables that they grow a shot in our own garden, and we're having a lot of success this year. I'm going to put these over here. Set them right there for right now. Let's see. Let me keep looking. There's a few smaller ones in here. Oh, here is one. It's just big enough. There's one down here. Alright, so this bean vine has given me 5 beans. I actually have another one inside that I got from it a while ago, so I have 6 beans off of this one. This one next to it has yet to flower. It just needed to get a little bit bigger, I think. We'll see how it does. I think I see little buds starting to come off, so I think it is about to flower and give me some beans. Whether it does that before it gets too cold or not is another story. I'm just winding these vines in so that it's self-contained and not bothering the other plants. But here's another Japanese winged bean over here. Hoping that if I'm able to keep these fresh in the refrigerator long enough, that I'll get enough to actually do a stir fry with them or something. This one is a little bit too small still, so I'm gonna leave it. That one gave me 2, but this one started flowering after the other one I just did, so I'm not too disconcerted with that. My perilla actually had some babies. So this big plant already dropped seed and it's still alive. So if you see down here, there's seed, and there's another baby right here. This is basil, so there's my basil seeds spread into this one as well. So life continues, and this perilla looks better than it ever has. So I'm just gonna keep letting it do its thing. These onions are doing great. I'm sure I could harvest some of them, but I'm going to continue to let them get a little bit bigger before I mess with them, and I will get those soon. I have, so the lighting is kind of awful out here, but you see my basil babies right there, and this is a flower baby that I need to get, and here is a green bean. I'm not sure if I'm going to get that green bean yet. It's over here. It's still a little bit small, so I might leave it. And there's some more green bean babies on there. If you come over here, we have some shishito pepper babies right here. I just harvested the shishito peppers off of this plant yesterday, so that's amazing that it's already producing more. But look, this one's almost ready as well. I haven't given a good look to these green beans in a while, so let me see what's going on here. I was kind of just letting them do their thing. I see some baby beans on that one. I left them. There's another baby bean. These plants had a hard time this year. I just got them to bounce back a little bit ago. It's late. We're in September now. These beans should have already been done, but as you can see, there's flowers all through here. And there's a few baby beans. So I'm gonna leave them go and get those baby beans off, and then I'll strip them out for my fall garden. But this shishito pepper over here has been a continuous producer all summer. Definitely planting those next year because they did great. I'm going to take you in here. Been having some trouble with some cabbage and kale worms on my kale. I came out here this morning and plucked a bunch of them off of here, so hopefully I got them. But it takes a while. If you let them, yeah, there's one. If you let them go, they drop their eggs. It's just a continual nightmare of plucking these little worms off. There's a leaf that's covered in eggs. So it's that time of year. I did have some problems with this earlier in the year, but I got it all taken care of then. But then they have returned now, and my Siberian kale is feeling the effects. As you can see, it's pretty much decimated, but there's another one. This is so thin now that I can pretty much just pluck them all off as I find them, and hopefully it takes care of the problem. Alright, I think I got all of those, but there's really nothing to harvest in here. Just wanted to show you guys my pretty flowers. These are those flowers that there was a baby in my perla. This plant got knocked over at the beginning of the year during a hailstorm, and it produced a ton of babies, and I repotted them yesterday. They're not looking too hot today. However, they will bounce back. These things are like glitter. They turn up everywhere. So my mint's right here. It's doing great. I'm going to repot that into a larger pot though. My oregano came back. It's looking pretty spiffy. My strawberries are looking great. These haven't produced in a while, but I'm fine with that because the leaves have never looked healthier. And it'll produce more next year. My sage is looking great. I'm going to harvest some of that tomorrow so that I can make a butternut squash soup. My basil is looking great. There's some right there. And I planted some more lettuce leaf down there. This pepper, let me see if this one's ready or not. It's not all the way red yet, so I'm going to leave it until it turns red. This pepper produced a lot of peppers, however they're small. So that's alright though. And it rained a lot last night, so this pot doesn't have a hole in the bottom, so I'm just draining it out. Here's another one of those little flower babies that came up after that storm. I need to drain this pot too. I will not be using these pots from Dollar Tree again next year, the metal ones, because they just continuously get filled up with water and the plants don't like it. But my lettuce leaf basil is doing great. I've harvested that like 7 times, and I just planted it a few weeks ago. Sorry for the noise. That's my AC unit. It's underneath of the porch. My carrots are waterlogged, so I'm gonna have to drain that pot too. I wanted to come over here can show you this. I believe this is a baby cucamelon because I planted cucamelon seeds, and there's another small one coming about right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and harvest this just to make sure it is a cucamelon and I'm not harvesting something like a watermelon. But the watermelon, I've never seen a watermelon have leaves like that. So, all right, so here's the cucamelon. I'll give it a shot. I'm not sure. I don't know if that is a cucamelon or not. Do you guys know? Does it look like a cucamelon to you? It doesn't really taste like cucumber. It tastes kind of like an unripe thing. Uh-oh. Well, I did plant cucamelons over there, but maybe they are watermelon. If so, that's a shame. I'll look it up when we get inside, but this looks just like a cucamelon. I'll look at the leaves too when we get inside. Here I am putting soil into these containers to start my fall garden. This soil is pretty wet, so I won't have to water anything for a while after I plant the seedlings into it, which is cool. I didn't intend for it to be wet, but we had a torrential downpour last night, so it is. This was the pot that I had my broccolini in at the beginning of the season, and I mixed a bunch of like fertilizer in with it. The organic kind, like crab shell and blood meal and bone meal. There's one done. Now, if I had my choice, I would just direct seed a lot of the seed that I'm putting into the garden. As you can see, my summer garden's running a little bit late this year. So I'm just going to start it in these seed starter pots and roll with the punches, you know? You do what you have to do to get your garden in and to get the largest harvest. So a lot of my plants are just coming ripe and they're not ready to be plucked out. So I'm starting it in this and it'll work out just fine. I have a greenhouse, so I can stick them in the greenhouse, and I have a plant light in my kitchen, so I can stick them in that too. Alright, so things like radishes and carrots are definitely a direct seed item, so I'm going to have to go out there and decide which thing to eliminate to sow those. The lettuce, kale, spinach, and cabbage starters I'm going to go ahead and plant in these trays so that they can get a head start and so that I can hopefully have some greens this winter. Where did my paintbrush go? Where did it go? I lost it. Oh, there it is. Alright, so I'm going to start with the spinach. This is a Bloomsdale long-standing spinach. I planted this last year in my garden, and I planted it too late, so that, you know, I planted it too late in the spring, which was my own fault. But it gave me some, but it didn't really do a lot because it got too hot and it bolted. So it's September now. It might be a little bit too late for the fall even, but I'm planting it again to see what I can get. Because so far my greens have done really well on the porch. So I'm hoping the same thing happens in the fall. Just planting 2 or 3 seeds in each hole to ensure I get germination in each little block here. That was too many. Okay. I'll save the rest of the seed for another time. I'm going to do these Trigemicide greens. These are a phenomenally tasty, stunning new superfood with 4 times as much vitamin A as carrots, a cross between tatsoi and komatsuna. Lightly savoyed leaves have a velvety mouthfeel and lightly umami flavor, heat and cold tolerant, suitable to grow year-round in most growing zones. So this is a great option for a fall garden. Let's see how big the seeds are. They're rather tiny. So I'm going to, it says to sow in place, so I'm committing a sin right now. But you do what you have to do to get your garden in, as I said before. It'll be fine. Everything will come up. I have no doubt of that. The soil's pretty moist. I just like saying that word, but it kind of smells too, but it's alright. That means things are working in it properly, I guess. This would be a great crop to have in the winter because you need all those extra vitamins and nutrients when you don't get enough sunlight and physical activity. And vitamin C, honestly. But it said there's a lot of vitamin A in this one, so I am generously sowing this, planting way too much of it, just to ensure that I get a bunch that comes up. Okay. Cover these holes. For those of you who don't know me personally, I'm a very quiet person. And I have gotten a few comments about how quiet my videos are, and I am so sorry, but it comes naturally and it's really hard for me to fight against it. So if you ever find that I am quiet, I do apologize. I have turned up the volume all the way when I make the videos, and I do edit them now so that the volume is turned up all the way for you guys. I max it out for the video, so hopefully it's not an issue anymore. But if it is, I apologize. I still need to get a microphone set up for my YouTube system. Right now, I just use my little iPad. And it took me a long time to afford that iPad, so I feel really blessed to have it. But as far as the big names in YouTube go, I suppose it's completely inadequate. And people are used to really good sound, so I do apologize for that. But that being said, I'm doing my best to edit them in a way that makes it so you can hear. So hopefully that works. Alright, so my spinach and my superfood greens are now planted. Move on to this one. I have some giant noble spinach. I'm going to go ahead and pop some of this into this seed tray because my giant lettuce leaf basil out there is doing good, so why wouldn't this do good? And they're from the same company, so hopefully I am correct in my assumption. I am just going to do one row of this because I have a ton of seeds to plant still. And I already planted some spinach, so this is a little bit of overkill, but I want to do it. Oops. These are big seeds. It shouldn't have any problem germinating at all. Put some extras in there. Massive. Okay, I'm gonna do my blue curled Scotch kale now. I have some dinosaur kale growing out there currently, which is currently being attacked by the caterpillars. So I need to start some more just in case it totally gets eradicated. Hopefully it will not. I've been really diligent about picking those caterpillars off every single day. I went out there earlier and picked them off, and I just picked them off with you guys while I was doing the video as well, so should be enough, you would think. I'm going to plant a lot of kale because I know it does really well in the fall, and I want to have a really impressive garden because it makes me feel good about myself. So I'm planting a lot of it. Nothing that makes you feel better than in the winter looking out at your garden and seeing green still. There's something so uplifting and motivating about it. I really like the winter and I love the fall and early fall seasons. But in the dead of winter, when it's super cold and snowy outside, it's just a real pick-me-up to look outside and see green still in your garden, and you still have the option to go out and pick these greens. Everybody says this winter is going to be really hard for everybody because of the crop failures and the food shortages and all the sanctions and everything that are going on, the water, the drought that happened with the food crops this year. They keep saying that the food shortages are still going, that they're coming. But it's hard to wrap my head around because there's abundance everywhere I look right now. Like my food line's almost completely stocked. But what I've noticed is they're completely stocked, but they're completely stocked with things that they would not normally carry. And they're completely stocked as in like they're repetitively shelving the same item so that there's no empty shelf space. That's still stocked though. They still have plenty of food. So I'm not sure what to think, but plan for the worst and hope for the best is what we do here. This is that old Tokyo Komatsu. Greens are really easy for me to grow, thankfully. Because for many years, my husband told me I had the brownest thumb on the entire earth. Because I would plant a garden every year and it would never do anything. It never grew. But all of a sudden, a few years ago, I kind of figured it out. I got my rhythm. So, in our old house, we didn't have a hose outside, so I'd have to hand water the garden. And the garden was just too far away, and I would get tired of watering it, and in the dead of summer, it would all just die because I was waiting for the rain to come, and it never did, and I procrastinated because that's life. So I moved my garden closer to my house, and I was able to hand water the garden every day last year. It was quite the task, but I did it because I wanted my garden. And I was finally able to grow things with success. I got raised beds, I did organic soil, I composted, I did a bunch of my banana peel tea for fertilizer, and I had an abundant garden last year. But I have to say, the garden this year is actually more prolific than it was last year in the ground at my house. I always had trouble growing at that house, and I think it's just that it had poor sunlight. So when we got here, I got the same garden soil, and it just wasn't working out in the pot. So I got some organic fertilizers, and all of a sudden everything exploded. So it just needed that little extra punch of nutrients to take off, and it's doing great. It's given us so much produce that it's ridiculous. And every bit counts. So you saw I got a handful of green beans earlier. Yeah, it's just a handful. But if I save that in my refrigerator for when I get the next handful, I'll have enough for a meal for my family, or enough for a meal for my lunch and my toddler's lunch while my kids are at school. So every little bit counts. So when I get something out of the garden, I don't have to go buy it. I've gotten so much basil that it's absurd, and I've gotten quite a few tomatoes and lettuce and spinach out of that garden, kale, all kinds of things, and it's just been such a joy. The shishito peppers are my favorite peppers, and I love to make a stir fry out of them. And it's made it so that I've made like 6 of those stir fries this summer. Whereas normally those peppers are really expensive at the store. I normally just look forward to it once a year, but this time I was able to have it 6 times, and it was free because I grew my own plants. So just think about that. And my pots don't expire. I buy the pots that stay. They don't biodegrade. So I will have those pots until they break, which they all look very sturdy to me. So it's going to be a long time that I have those pots out there, and I won't have to rebuy the pots. I may have to top up some soil, but that's not a big deal because it's just like 1 or 2 bags a year. And besides the bags of soil and my seeds, the only other cost that I have is the fertilizer. And it really helps my state of mind as well. I love to garden, I love to grow, and it's really helped me come out of my shell and be a better person. I'm teaching my kids self-sufficiency, and it's just really empowering to have your own garden, because you have a source of food if something happens, even if it's small. You have something, and it always helps. So I'm a really huge advocate for growing your own garden, no matter how small or big it is. because everything is worth it. All the plants that you grow are always worth it. I'll plant a few more of those. That was the dinosaur kale. Great. Next I'm going to do the dazzling blue kale. And I'm going to plant a lot of this as well. I think I'm just going to do a line. Yeah. 2 lines. I'm going to end the line with either some lettuce or some tiny bok choy. Sitting here trying to decide which one. I don't have the black fitters for these 2 last trays that I'm doing, so I'm just doing it in the tray, and I'll just use a knife and cut through when I want to pull them out. And it'll work just fine. Yellow heart winter choy in here. It's a similar texture and growth pattern to the other kale that I just planted. So I think it'll get along just well. Just fine. And yeah, I know you see me like not just planting one seed. I oversow like crazy just to ensure that I get germination. It's a little bit messy, but it's okay. And you can eat the seedlings. So I just pluck them out, rinse them off, and put them in my salad. And they get used, and their life and their growth was useful. That one is done. This is the soil that I did my broccolini in. And it dropped they dropped a lot of seeds into the soil, so we'll just see what pops up. I should be able to tell what's broccolini, but a lot of seedlings look the same, especially brassicas and cabbages and lettuces, so we shall see. I already sowed a bunch of cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage and stuff, but I think something happened with that seed tray, so I may have to reseed it. My dog may have licked the seed out of the tray. It was in here under the grow light, and they were doing fine, and then all of a sudden they weren't, and I can't decide whether it was because my air vent for my house is right next to it and it got too cold to germinate, or my dog got into it, because it looked like it had been shifted around a bit. So we'll see. This is one of my favorite times of day. It's really nice to spend it with you guys. My kids are at school, and I do pick them up in a couple of hours, an hour to be exact. And my son is right there in the living room next to me taking a nap, my youngest. it's just a really quiet time of day for me to get things done in the kitchen, around the house, or in the garden. Alright, I'm going to do my tiny bok choy and my butter crunch lettuce now. The lettuce first. Now this didn't come from Baker Creek Seed. This came from my local co-op store. So that's the only one not from Baker Creek Seed that I'm sowing today. Baker Creek Seed doesn't do affiliate marketing or anything like that, so I don't get paid to plug them, but I really like their seed and I really like their customer service and the people that work there, so I'm giving them a shout out anyway. Definitely go check them out and let them know who sent you, because I wouldn't mind if they knew about me. That's the butter crunch lettuce. I'll do my tiny bok choy. It's still rather hot outside, so I think this seed tray in particular is going to stay inside underneath of my grow light, because I don't think lettuce likes it when it's over 80 degrees. And it's been getting over 80 degrees almost every day. Even if it's just by a hair, it matters. I know that in my house it's a steady 70 to 72 degrees. So we might just leave this one in here because it has some of the more delicate things in it. And I think this was a free seed packet. So I got these for free with one of my orders that I did the last time I ordered, and I can't believe that I got that because it's such a popular thing that they sell. I was super, super excited to get that. They send out some of the coolest free seed that I've ever received before. I'll have to go through and show you guys sometime, but they really pamper their customers. If you treat them right, they treat you right, kind of thing. So definitely give them a check out. They're very liberal with their free seed. Of course, I do buy a lot, so and that might be why. But sometimes I feel like I haven't bought enough, and they've given me at least 2 packets when I should have just gotten 1. So I think that was really nice of them to do that. I buy their catalog every year because my kids love it. I used to use it for homeschooling. You know, gardening with kids is homeschooling 101. It was really fun, and they had a really great time doing it. And they got to look through and choose the seeds they wanted to try out because there's so many interesting things. My daughter always got a bunch of the flowers, and my son always got a bunch of the vegetables that he likes. So homeschooling them was really fun when we did that, and they were so excited when their stuff came up. My son was really into the herbs as well, so we got a lot of herbs, and he planted a lot. And my kids would go into the herb, I had called it my herb room, and they would just eat the mint and the basil and the thyme straight off the plant, and they had a blast doing that. All right, I do have one more thing I'm going to stick in here. Oh, I have 2 more things. I think I'm just going to stick with this one, the Chinese cabbage. I'm going to do a quick line of this right in here. It's going to be squished, but just in case my other ones don't come up out there, I'll have this. No, go back in. Oh well. Well, we're gonna have some mystery seed come up. I don't know what it is though, so that's okay. Tons of seed in these trays, but it'll be worth it in the end. Alright, and now we've finished up sowing the seed for our fall garden. The peas, the radishes, carrots, and daikon, and turnips will have to be planted another time. I have 2 seed trays underneath my grow light. That's under my china cabinet. And we'll go out here and I'll show you. I have 3 seed trays out here germinating in my greenhouse. I wanted to see which ones do best. So, not quite an even split, but we'll see how it goes. I went ahead and stripped out my carrot bed, and this is a pitiful result. It's okay though, I'll eat them. They're so teensy tiny. They took way longer than the package said they would, so I was getting frustrated with them anyway. If I had left them in longer, they probably would have gotten better, but they look gnarly. I will re-prep that bed and sow it with daikon, and I'll bring you guys with me when I do that. Thanks for coming along with me today as I planted the seeds for my fall garden. I really appreciate you guys spending your day with me. It means a lot to me. We're really working hard here to make sure the garden does well, and I hope you will stick around and check out the next video to see what progress is being made on the fall garden. Thanks guys. Bye.